Okay, picture this. The economy is a car. Sometimes it's cruising along nicely. Other times it's sputtering, maybe stalling out. And every once in a while, it's just overheating, smoke coming from under the hood. So if the economy is a vehicle, who's actually driving this thing? Well, as you're about to see, the answer is complicated. This is the exact problem every government on the planet faces. I mean, think about it. If the economy stalls, you're looking at a recession, people losing their jobs. But if it overheats, you've got skyrocketing prices, inflation that just eats away at your savings. Getting that balance right, it's not just some political game. It's one of the most important jobs a government has. So, who's in that driver's seat? It's the government. They've got their hands on the wheel, their feet on the pedals, and the main dashboard they're looking at to navigate everything is something called fiscal policy. So, what is fiscal policy really? Well, to put it simply, it's the way a government uses its two main powers, spending money and collecting money through taxes, to try and steer the entire economy. It's basically their go-to toolkit for hitting their economic goals. Think of that dashboard I mentioned. It's got two huge levers on it. On one side, you've got government spending. Money for things like new roads, schools, military programs, you name it. And on the other side, you've got taxation, the money they collect from all of us, from citizens and businesses. By pulling these two levers, they try to control the speed of that economic car. All right, so let's imagine the economy is stuck in a ditch. It's a recession, things are slow, the government needs to hit the gas, right? This is where they pull out what's called expansionary fiscal policy. And here's how that works. It's like a chain reaction. First, the government either cuts taxes, which leaves you with more of your own money, or it just starts spending more on big projects. Either way, the result is more cash flowing into the economy. And with more money in their pockets, people and businesses start spending more. This creates a higher demand for, well, everything. And that higher demand is what leads to economic growth and hopefully more jobs. So the main point, the absolute goal of all this, is to increase what economists call aggregate demand. And don't let the fancy term fool you. It just means the total demand for everything, all the goods and services in an economy. You get that number to go up and you get the whole vehicle moving again. But what about the opposite problem? What if that economic car is just flying down the highway way too fast and prices are going through the roof with inflation? Well, then the government has to gently pump the brakes. And they do this with something called contractionary fiscal policy. And it's pretty much the exact reverse of hitting the gas. The government can either raise taxes or it can cut its own spending. Both of those actions take money out of the economy. So with less cash around for things like groceries or new equipment, people and businesses naturally spend less. This lowers the overall demand, and when demand for stuff drops, prices usually stabilize. And that painful inflation finally starts to cool down. And yep, you guessed it, there's one primary goal here too: decrease aggregate demand. By intentionally slowing things down a bit, the government tries to bring the economy back to a more stable, sustainable speed without causing a crash. So this table here really lays it all out, side by side. You've got expansionary policy, using lower taxes and more spending to get things growing. And then you have contractionary policy, using higher taxes and less spending to get inflation under control. Two different problems, two opposite solutions, but they both work by tweaking that one key thing: aggregate demand. Okay, I get it. This all sounds a little abstract, right? Levers and dashboards and aggregate demand. But what does this stuff actually feel like on Main Street? How does it hit your job or your favorite local coffee shop? Because believe me, these policies have a huge real-world impact. This quote from a small business owner says it all. During an expansionary phase, that higher demand means more customers walking through the door. Sales are up, and maybe they can finally put that "now hiring" sign in the window. But during a contractionary period, lower demand can mean an empty store and making really tough calls about cutting back. For businesses on the ground, it is a night and day difference. Now, before we start thinking this is some kind of perfect, foolproof system, it's really important to know that this road is absolutely full of potholes. Driving an entire economy is incredibly tricky, and fiscal policy has some pretty serious limitations. So one of the biggest side effects, especially from hitting the gas all the time, is government debt. I mean, think about it. If the government is constantly spending more money than it's bringing in with taxes to juice the economy, that debt just starts to pile up higher and higher. And a huge national debt creates a whole new set of long-term headaches for everyone down the line. And then there's the problem of time. From the moment the government even decides on a policy, to getting it passed, to actually implementing it, and then waiting for it to affect the economy, months, sometimes even years can fly by. By the time that tax cut finally shows up in your bank account, the original problem it was designed to fix might have completely changed or even disappeared. So what's the big takeaway here? Well, the goal isn't to reach some final destination and just park the car. It's about a constant, delicate balancing act. The government is always trying to make these tiny little adjustments, trying to keep the economy humming along smoothly, avoiding that deep ditch of recession on one side and the fiery crash of high inflation on the other. So let's recap with a quick look at your driver's handbook. Number 1. Fiscal policy is all about using government spending and taxes to steer the economy. 2. Expansionary policy is hitting the gas to fight a recession. 3. Contractionary policy is pumping the brakes to control inflation. And 4. It's a really powerful tool for sure, but it is not perfect. It comes with big challenges like debt and those tricky time lags. Which leaves us with one final and pretty important question. When you think about all the politics involved, the time delays, and all the crazy, unforeseen things that happen in the world, all those bumps in the road, is it even possible for any driver, no matter how good they are, to actually achieve a perfect, smooth economic journey?